Hi, everybody. Welcome to Book It, Vince, the Wrestling Dream Match podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Martin Bennett. And with me, as always, is the face that runs the place, Anthony Hall.
Is that AJ Styles?
It is AJ Styles.
Yeah. You don't want none.
There we go. Too sweet. No, wait, that's copywritten.
You can't say it. You can only do the finger gesture.
Oh no, we'll get. Well, no, we're gonna get a cease and desist. Oh no.
It's coming from Stamford, Connecticut. It's coming. I'm informing the office to file the complaint right now. Here I am, me and Triple H. Did you hear the Book of Vince? They said too sweet. Let's get the paperwork together.
Wow.
Let's go, Hunter. Come on, Hunter. Let's go. Let's get it. Let's get it going. You can hear me through your conference call machine.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of Book It, Vince, where every week we book dream matches of professional wrestling that we want to see, or like this week, we're going to do something a little bit different. But before we get into that, if you enjoy what we do here on the podcast, please make sure to go and follow it or subscribe to it on whatever podcast app that you listen to, or come watch the video version on YouTube so you can see Anthony's blue screen antics, him hanging out with Triple H in Stamford, Connecticut, or me with my brand new HD setup, which I'm very proud of.
Yes.
And also, if you do listen to it and you do enjoy it, please be sure to rate and review the podcast. And if you review it, we'll read it out here on the show. Or
5 stars.
We'll also,
5 stars.
5 stars. 5 stars. Or we'll also
5 stars in the Tokyo Dome.
Yes, give us 5 stars on the Meltzer rating.
Yeah.
And we'll also make sure to shout you out on our Twitter, which, if you did not know, we have a Twitter for the podcast. So you can go and follow us on Twitter at BookItVincePod, where we share memes, we ask questions, and we live tweet events like Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, NXT, and pay-per-views. But now we can get into the episode. So this week is my week to challenge. And when we first started this podcast, we said that we would do dream matches, but also that we might book or rebook storylines and feuds and matches that happened already that we think could be better. And we kind of did that in the first episode. It was a dream match, but we also kind of rebooked the invasion angle, because we did Undertaker versus Sting. And what happened if Sting came during the invasion? This week, Anthony, I want us to rebook a feud storyline that happened that I think could be better. Okay. And that specific one, it's going to be interesting because it's not really any versus anyone. I'm going to say this is what the versus is, just for the thumbnail and for the graphics and stuff. I want us to rebook Roman Reigns versus Samoa Joe in the angle that happened in the summer of 2019, where Roman Reigns was attacked and hit by a car.
Okay. You mean this one? What are you doing? Look at these 2 cars. For the audio listeners, I just pulled up an image of the 2 cars hitting each other during this angle, and Samoa Joe jumping out of the way.
So if you don't remember, this was after WrestleMania. After WrestleMania, we have new storylines being created. In this time, Roman had just come back and he faced Drew McIntyre. Funny enough, he faced Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania And Daniel Bryan had lost his WWE championship to Kofi Kingston. They're kind of starting to set up things for like SummerSlam time. And what ends up happening is Roman Reigns is attacked backstage. Someone pushes a bunch of equipment on top of him, and no one knows who the culprit is. And what actually happened in the real storyline is at first they thought it was Samoa Joe, and then they thought that it was Buddy Murphy. And Buddy Murphy and Roman Reigns have a banger of a match on SmackDown during the SummerSlam weekend.
I was there.
Which Anthony was there.
I saw it.
And then they thought it was Daniel Bryan. And then it turned out that it was Eric Rowan. And then that led into Eric Rowan and Luke Harper versus Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns at Hell in a Cell. And that was then when Daniel Bryan turned face from doing the Planet's champion into now just back into Daniel Bryan. So that's what actually happened, but I think we could make it better.
We can. And we can do it in a silly way, or we could do it in a legit way. There's many possibilities here.
Well, it's fun. It's fun because it is a who done it. You know, who and WWE likes to do those who done it's. Like just trying to fit like someone attacking someone, and then it's like who could it be, and then you can have a bunch of matches coming out of that. Now I picked.
Should we book it like Knives Out, where Aiden English is Daniel Craig's character, and he shows up and he's like, "Oh, a game is afoot. Something is afoot."
Sure.
I mean, Aiden English is in charge of the investigation to find out who is attacking Roman Reigns.
I love it. I love it. I'm down 100% for that. Just because then you could have some comedy in it, but it's still like a serious storyline. And like, cause in the whole thing, it just, the original storyline, like it was actually kind of intriguing up to a point. And then when they revealed it was Eric Rowan, it kind of fell flat just because there wasn't any justification for it. The turn, Daniel Bryan suddenly becoming face because he felt betrayed by Rowan, felt really kind of like we need to have Bryan come back as a face. Like they were desperate to. So
okay.
I said Samoa Joe because I want Samoa Joe to be the biggest badass on the planet, which he is. But I was like, it was cool in the actual feud to see him kind of have a little bit of heart where he was like if you're watching the video version, you see Anthony's webcam that there was that moment where, Roman Reigns got hit by the car. And Samoa Joe like was the heel at the time, and he kind of showed a little bit of compassion, which was interesting. But it's like, what if he was actually behind it all? Like for real. But what if then, like, I still want that Buddy Murphy match 100% because that was a banger of a match.
We can do that. All right. So let's set. Where should we start the events of this feud? So should we start it like right from Roman's first attack, where a bunch of stuff gets like pushed on top of him, and Kayla's like, "Whoa, watch out!"
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely that. And they're like, "Is Roman okay?" And then we don't see him for a while.
Yeah.
Because in the actual storyline, he gets attacked and he just shows up the next week, and he's like trying to go around being like, who did it, and questioning everybody. But it's like, what if he was injured and like we didn't see him? And then that's where it's Aiden English investigating.
Yeah,
who
Aiden,
could it be?
Aiden English. Okay, at this point in time, has Aiden English been? Is he still an active wrestler in like last year? Like, did he get moved to commentary yet? Do you remember
this? I don't remember. I'm looking up.
Let's just say, for all intents and purposes, that he is still an active wrestler. So I think he could show up, and he's repackaged himself as Detective Aiden English. Hold on. I need to confirm one thing.
He joined the 205 Live commentary in January of 2019.
Crap.
And then he I think he also ended up doing commentary for NXT UK.
Okay, so that's fine. We're gonna ignore all of those things, and we are going to.
Oh, of course.
We are going to. He's gonna go away because like the Rusev Day stuff is all over and stuff like that. So we're like, oh, Aiden English is just in creative purgatory where they're like, sorry, Aiden, we have nothing for you, so you won't be on TV. But he writes himself a very special angle to coincide with the release of Knives Out, which came out in September 7th of 2019. So they are promoting they are the WWE and Knives Out.
I mean, yeah, you have this little bit of comedy next to this like very serious story that can then lead to like Aiden English like getting in a match with like Samoa Joe and have Joe destroy him.
Exactly.
But the whole time Aiden English is like they're like, why are you like, you have some people like he's like investigating and he's asking questions and someone's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm like Daniel Craig in Knives Out. Coming out like, September 7th, 2019.
He's like, yeah. He's like, he like, so in Knives Out, of course, Daniel Craig's character, Benoit Blanc, has this like deep Southern drawl, like a Louisiana type accent. So having Aiden English adopt that character, and he's like, he'll show up like maybe the week after Roman gets something is going on here. And he has this like Daniel Craig notoriously in this movie, of course, if people have not seen Knives Out, he has this very, very aggressive accent that at times just makes no sense, which is perfect for someone like Aiden English to put on. Aiden English famously was a thespian before being a wrestler. That's why he had his like Shakespeare gimmick and stuff like that. So he would be the perfect man for that.
That's why he is the drama king.
Yes, he shows up and it's just like, there was a crime that was committed against one of the greatest superstars of modern day wrestling.
Fun fact, Aiden English is a Guerrero, technically.
Yes, by marriage.
Yes. Which makes me wonder why he's not in AEW currently, but whatever.
What a great segment it would be to have Aiden English cut a promo about how he's going to be on the case. And he's like, I will find out who is here to hurt Roman Reigns. And then he basically, I think he has to go through some main suspects. And on the Titantron, he's like, these are the suspects I have in mind presently. And he like shows a picture of like Daniel Bryan, Eric Rowan, Buddy Murphy, who are some other fun people. And then like those are like the usual suspects. And then he like maybe like shows a picture of the Big Show.
Well, earlier that year, Big Show. Yeah. I don't know if it was, I don't think it was earlier that year because Roman had, I forget how Joe came involved. This is the only thing I can't, let me see. No, they were having a feud at that time after WrestleMania.
Like Joe and Roman.
Yeah. So he was kind of like the most obvious one. That's why they swerved away from him. Murphy became a culprit because he Roman was kept asking him, and he was sort of like being fishy about it. And at first he said that he did do it, but then he was like, no, I didn't do it. And then that's where they had that banger of a match where Roman made Buddy Murphy look like an actual threat, which is great. But then also Buddy Murphy sold the shit out of everything that Roman was doing and made him look super powerful. So
also, I'm going to pitch some more comedy into this angle as if we didn't already have enough. So in Knives Out, there are some other investigators, some like real police officers that are not just like world famous investigators there to investigate this case. So I propose that in our fantasy booking that those officer characters be played by the Fashion Police, Fandango, and Tyler Breeze.
I loved them as the Fashion Police and all their goofy ass vignettes and stuff of them trying to solve cases and whatnot. Yeah, that would have been perfect.
Okay, so Aiden English has this team now that is him and the Fashion Police. But the Fashion Police are wearing like very nice suits. They're basically like fashion investigation bureau style. They're the FBI now.
Right, yeah.
The Fashion Bureau of Investigation.
Hey, there you go. Perfect.
and they have obviously after this like promo where you see all the different faces up on the screen, and Aiden English probably is like, and there's one main suspect, someone who is currently entrenched in some sort of mess with Roman. And then they show a picture of Samoa Joe, and it cuts to Samoa Joe in the back, and he's like, what? No, I wouldn't do that. And I think
I don't think at the time, I don't think Joe wouldn't have been like, oh, I didn't do that. He'd come out and be like, what the hell makes you think that I did it? And like,
right. Perfect. Yeah. That's the drama we're working towards here.
Mm-hmm.
Mojo, he's been accused by Detective Aiden English. And I like that.
What then? Oh no, and then it definitely has to end with like, does Aiden currently have like a prop or something, like, or is he just using the jumbotron?
I think he's using the Titantron to put faces up. Like he's pointing at it, and it's kind of like a PowerPoint presentation in a way. And he's like, "These are the people."
Are the Fashion Police with him?
Not yet. And I think the Fashion Police is revealed the following week when maybe another attack happens on Roman, and it's like we see like a classic sort of WWE thing where it shows like the door of the place that you're about to go into in a prior segment. So it's like Fashion Bureau of Investigation, Breeze, and Fandango. And then the following segment after that is like we come back from commercial break, and then you see Aiden English walk in, pushes the door open, and it reveals like one of those cork boards, and it has all of the faces that Aiden English had mentioned, and then the crash picture, assuming that's happened. I think so Roman it was the backstage deck, and now we have Aiden English investigating who done it. Prime suspect Samoa Joe. I think then at the end of that episode or something, Joe then either has to do something threatening to English, because obviously it's like he wouldn't be happy at all being accused like that. Yeah,
so
that's true.
That's why I was wondering if the Fashion Police were there, because it would be 100% a Joe thing to then put someone through a table or throw them off the stage or something like that. Or he just threatened and makes Aiden English run off scared.
I think if he threatens Aiden English or like hurts him, that gives Aiden English the inspiration to recruit more people to help him. That's
Right, yeah.
how we get the Fashion Bureau of Investigation. He needs extra hands.
Yeah, I don't think Roman comes back right away because we want to build it up more. I think then what can happen is that then after like a week or two, Aiden says, or the fashion police, or sorry, the FBI.
Yeah, the Fashion Bureau of Investigation.
Yeah, they say that they have a not a rat, but like they've gotten some intel from a source that knows who did it. And then that's where we bring in the Buddy Murphy angle. And we just bring that angle because that angle in the original story was really good. And so we bring that in where like he knows something, but we don't know who it is. And then that's where either Joe or Roman can come back. And that's where they then get to have their match because it's like he's revealed as like the informant.
Oh, that's great.
That he really knows who did it. And then Roman beats him up, is essentially like makes his return after like 2 or 3 weeks. And then they have their match. And then that's where Buddy Murphy like maybe says who he believes did it. And he says Joe. And then we can have the car crash that makes it look like Joe definitely didn't do it.
Yeah.
In our reality, Joe planted someone else to crash the car so that he looked innocent, but really he was behind it all from the beginning.
Okay. I like where this is going. Okay. We have the accusation. We have Joe threatening Aiden at the end of the episode. So that means Aiden needs some help. So then Aiden recruits the Fashion Bureau of Investigation, Tyler Breeze and Fandango. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I think we get another. I think we got like we find out another attack has happened. Like Roman maybe he's not back, but we find out that like something has happened maybe to his locker, because if that doesn't mean that like we have to bring Roman back. It just means that like we still see property damage towards Roman's things, but he doesn't necessarily have to be there.
Could be like his car.
Yeah, sure. It's still parked there. Yeah. It's like it's damaged. It's like you'll never get me. Or like I was like, I'll never. It's like I won't stop till he's gone or something nefarious. And then the following week, I think, is when we get this idea that the Fashion Bureau of Investigation has an informant. They found out some news, and I think this would be a really hilarious comedy vignette where you have the informant like sitting in a room and you have like the voice changer on and it's like, I can give you information that you want. It's like, I know who attacked Robert Graves. Yeah. And then you like have somebody come in and like turn on the lights and you see that it's Buddy Murphy.
That's so funny. That's so good. I love that. Where it's just it's this super serious thing of like you really well lit like the overhead lights so you can't see their or backlight them so you can't see their face, but then like Tyler Breeze and Fandango like look really serious, like asking questions. And then all of a sudden you just have like an intern come in, switch on the light, and they all just turn.
It doesn't even have to be an intern. Like was the 24/7 title around at this time? Because that would be a really funny 24/7 thing.
Possibly. Let's see, 24/7 championship.
Because if it's R-Truth flicks on the light.
If it was like, yeah, exactly. If it was R-Truth, that'd be really funny.
You're just holding the title like, sorry. It turns the lights back down.
Was introduced May 20th. So yeah. So it would be around. So
this is fresh. It's fresh. Yeah. So maybe. Great. So maybe earlier in the episode,
he comes and just flips it on. He's like, "Have any of y'all seen Akira Tozawa?"
Yeah. Have you seen Tozawa? Yeah.
I'm looking for him and his ninjas.
Yeah, or he's like, have you seen Carmella? Because this is like when the Carmella stuff is going on. He's like, have you seen Carmella? I'm scared she's gonna pin me, or like, I don't want her to sneak up on me.
Have you seen Carmella? I think she was taken by Akira Tozawa's ninjas.
Yeah, it's just like, and then
I haven't seen her all day. And then you just have Tyler Breezango just being like, "No, Truth. We're trying to do a super serious investigative interview here." And he's like,
"Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry." Turns off.
Yeah. My bad. Turns off the lights and then runs. And then maybe you see some people chasing him as he leaves.
But then I think then since it was revealed, then it's like Buddy Murphy's like, "Oh crap, I gotta get out of here," and then he bolts it.
Yeah. Then he runs.
Yeah. And because they were interrupted, he didn't actually say who it was.
Yes.
He just said, "I have information." He didn't say officially who he knows. And then that's where Roman can come back and confront him, and they have their match.
Exactly. And Roman says to Buddy, if I beat you in this match, you will tell me what you know. And he does.
There could then even be either be later. Maybe Buddy doesn't actually know, but maybe it's because he thinks he saw something that then he was confronted by someone and threatened not to say anything. And then maybe it's like security footage of like Murphy and then like a hooded figure.
Yeah.
And he's got like a I don't know, like a lead pipe or something holding up against the wall being like, if you, and then that voice is muffled. It's like, if you say anything, you're going to regret it, Murphy, blah, blah, blah. Right. So that's why he's like, I know someone did it, and I have a hunch of who it could be. Or it could just straight up be like he's just like, it's Samoa Joe, and then Joe comes out.
It's better. It's better the way that you have pitched it, because I think the match happens with Roman and Buddy Murphy, and then he like reveals like he's like, oh, I actually don't know. I couldn't actually see this person's face. They pinned me towards the wall, and they told me.
It could be like, I saw someone. I was backstage during that day, and I saw someone running away.
Right. Yeah.
And I think I know who it was, but I didn't know. And, but I did manage to find this security footage. Or something like that. Maybe that's a little too convoluted. But
no. No, I think it's like, yeah, but I think if you
what if it's like Murphy says, I saw someone running away that day. Mm-hmm. I couldn't make out who it was, but last week I was attacked by someone and told not to say who it was or who I thought it was. And then that's where in English can come out and go, yes, a new clue in the case.
Yeah.
And Roman, I can confirm exactly what Buddy Murphy is saying and telling the truth. Play the footage.
Yes,
and
exactly.
Then it plays security footage where it shows him getting threatened.
Yes. And it's like by this like hooded figure. And then Aiden's like, we must find out who this hooded man is. Which leads to
it'd be really funny if English like came all the way down to the ring and did it, and then Roman just like grabs the microphone from English and it just says, "Stay out of my way," and like pushes him down. It just because it's like he just wants to find it out for himself.
Yeah.
And
he's
then
like,
that's where
I don't need your help.
And then maybe it could be at the end of that night where the car crash happens, where he's like leaving the building.
Yeah, because he's leaving kind of in a huff, right? Because he's like, oh, this guy keeps getting in my way for this comedy segment. I just want to find out who is attacking. So he rushes to his car. He goes, he's driving, and then all of a sudden you see the other car come in, and it goes, "Rah!" And Samoa Joe's like, "Whoa, whoa!"
Yeah, he's like, "Oh my God, someone just tried to crash into Roman. Someone get out here and help him."
Yeah. Perfect.
And then the next week, where Aiden's like, the culprits, who could it be? And he like mentions Joe, and then Joe comes out and goes, "Do you see last week? I wasn't there."
Yeah.
But who was in the?
Yeah, and then we get another vignette of the Fashion Bureau of Investigation with Aiden English, and it's like, which active SmackDown superstars have driver's licenses? And it's a wall of all their driver's licenses.
Well, it could be. You could even make it like really interesting. It's interesting because this storyline happened across Raw and SmackDown for some reason. I don't know exactly why it did. I can't remember why it did, but anyways, what you could do is they could then see like, okay, this is the car. They traced the car. It was a rental car. From what company? Who was it rented under the name of? And then it's like a name that's like a cipher where it actually spells out. But then that's not great. The answer at all.
Yeah. That's great. They're on this like wild goose chase of like, who rented this car? Where did they pick it up from? And then like, what's the name? And it's like, it's some sort of like very scrambled name, and they have to put it together, and it ends up spelling like something like, okay, let's see, who would be a dumb person to put their name, put the car under.
What? Well, are we gonna have it be Brian, or are we gonna? Who is working with Joe? We want Joe to be the mastermind. Who is working with Joe?
Who's somebody who can?
Was it Aiden English all along?
It could be. Now that is interesting.
I don't think so. I think just having come in and being this comedy character is good, but it could be Brian. It could be Brian.
Maybe it is. I'm just trying to think who Joe can recruit here to do some. Dolph Ziggler, of course.
Okay. I was gonna say at that year's WrestleMania, Roman faced Drew. And then the story, and then after that, Drew just became a part of like the McMahon, like, cause then it was it later that year, or was it 2018? When did the Graveyard Dogs team up? It was the year before. It was 2018. I'm sure.
Okay. I have a perfect jobber type person to use for this.
Okay.
It is Mojo Rawley.
Okay. Yeah.
Mojo Rawley is Samoa Joe's minion, if you will. So Mojo. So it's like it's all these letters like rearranged, or it's like Ron, or it's like Rojo Molly is like the name. Rojo Molly.
Oh no, like, it was Extreme Rules 2019 was Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns and The Undertaker.
Right.
Because I don't remember how does that all tie into each. How did it go from who attacked Roman Reigns to then at Hell in a Cell to then looking back on 2019? How did any of those connect to each other? Was it after Hell in a Cell that then Roman was like sort of going up against Shane McMahon, I guess?
I really don't remember much from that year.
I mean,
it's just such a wash.
Yeah, instead of Mojo, it could be Drew.
Okay. It could be Drew. Yeah. Drew could be the one who is, I guess, because they're all vying for the title, right? Is Roman's the champion?
No.
No, he's not.
On at the time, Seth Rollins was, because that was the Hell in the Cell. Another look into the past. I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure, because at Extreme Rules 2019, the main event was Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch versus. It was such a shitty match. It was such a bad match. Versus Lacey Evans and. Was it Dolph? No, Baron Corbin. It was the mixed tag team Extreme Rules match. That was very not good. I just want to look up Hell in a Cell 2019, because if it's the match I think it is, yep, the infamous Seth Rollins versus The Fiend in the worst Hell in a Cell match ever.
Oh, the red cell, red light.
The ending the match in disqualification with ending a match that's supposed to have no disqualifications ever, but because Seth was going too crazy against The Fiend and everyone booed, and fucking X-Pac, my favorite moment ever of like behind the scenes WWE content is, and you can watch it unless someone's taking it down because it's so funny. It's X-Pac sitting on the watch along panel for Hell in a Cell, and the match like ends via disqualification, or like the ref says a no contest, and X-Pac sitting there 100% shooting says, "How can you end a match that has no disqualifications?" He's like, "I don't understand why this match is ending this way." It's like, good on you, X-Pac. Good on you. But so anyways, so then at the time it was Seth Rollins was champion. And on SmackDown it was Kofi Kingston.
Okay. So
and Kofi at Hell in a Cell was facing he faced Did he even defend it on this show? No, he didn't. Interesting.
Okay, so we gotta get back on track here.
Wow, there's some weird ass matches on this card. There's some weird ass matches on this card. But anyways.
So car crash happens. We find out that the name that is associated with the rental car can be traced back to Drew McIntyre. So we get this would be a fun time to maybe have the Fashion Bureau of Investigation confront Drew McIntyre, and they have a match,
handicap match.
A quick little comedy ditty, and Drew McIntyre defeats them as they would.
Because this is at the time where he was like the Scottish psychopath.
Yeah, so he absolutely destroyed. But then he's like, and then maybe Roman comes out. He's like, this is another thing where Roman would be like, if I beat you in a match, you have to tell me what's going on.
Well, it's because they had a match at WrestleMania, so it could be this thing of like, this is because after the Extreme Rules match, where Undertaker and Roman team up against Shane and Drew, that was the start of Drew's face turn.
Right.
So this could be where like they're starting to plant seeds to that, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe Roman's like, I respect the hell out of you. The fact that you were when I returned, you were the one who, confronted me and wanted to face me at WrestleMania. if you're the one behind this, you've lost all my respect. Kind of a thing. And then maybe Drew says something back to him where he's like, I never had respect for you in the first place, or something like that.
Oh,
and then,
okay.
Or sorry, let me do it in a Scottish accent. I never had respect for you in the first place.
Not bad.
No, it's not good.
Bad.
No, it's not good.
Not bad.
But yeah, so
okay,
then
so what happens after that then? So like he says,
oh, they definitely break out in a brawl.
Yeah, so but then how does the investigation progress? Is my question. So we find out that now it's like all signs are pointing to Drew. So how do you get out of this?
What if they break out in a brawl and it goes out to the back and they're beating the ever loving crap out of each other, right? And the police do show up, like the real police show up, right? And they get arrested. And then the next week on Raw shows Drew in a holding cell or in like an interrogation room, right? Where he's being questioned by police and it's like, blah, 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 right? And then Breezango managed to get into the interrogation room. And then it's this whole segment of them interrogating Drew. And this is where we can show off Drew's comedy. And like, and like you have this really funny bit of Breezango trying to get answers out of Drew, and finally maybe he breaks down and says something, but not because they actually like get any information out of him, but because they annoy the living hell out of him.
I think that'd be really funny, and then it's like he's at his wit's end with Breezango, and then maybe the door opens and Aiden English joins the interrogation, and that's like the breaking point is that Aiden English plus Breezango interrogating Drew just makes him like so uncomfortable and annoyed that he's like, fine. It's like He's like,
if you leave me alone.
yeah. If you leave me alone, I'll tell you everything. But I think because Drew is so closely a part of this that he maybe sends Breezango and Aiden English on like a wild goose chase. So he's like, there are other people involved. I'll give you names. And that leads to maybe some more like random bullshit with the Fashion Bureau of Investigation and Aiden English, is they maybe go and like confront some tag teams. They're like, maybe they talk to the Usos and they're like, it's like, why would you, it's like, we were informed by a secret informant that you might be hurting a member of your family because like he's stealing all your shine. And they're like, no, what are you talking about? And they're also like the gangster Usos at this point. So maybe that leads to a match between the Fashion Police and the Usos. Of course, the Fashion Police lose, and the Usos like clear themselves. And then maybe it's like the Ascension. They were still around at that point. They're like, it was you, Victor. I can't even drive. And they wrestle. And it's like, it's seemingly like everything that the Fashion Bureau is investigating with Aiden English has come to a dead end.
Right.
So there's something's not adding up.
Well, because then I think so that week where they interrogate Drew, right?
Yeah.
There can be some like made up reason as to why Roman's not on TV either. And I think the way you can do that is like you have whoever's on commentary say like because their actions last week, both of them have been suspended for the week. And even then that's where they say like, and Drew McIntyre is currently being held at a local facility to be questioned about his actions relating to the Roman Reigns attack. And then that's where that gets that involved. And then I think the week after Roman shows up and he goes, screw all this. I want to know, like you have this like comedy bit going on, but then Roman shows up and he's just like, I want to know who did it. I want to know the true answers to what happened. And maybe then that's where Roman then goes into the back and is trying to look for people. And maybe even English can say like, oh, I think I finally have figured out who did it. And so then Roman's like, I'm going to go to English. I'm going to make him tell me what the hell happened. And then within that process, Joe attacks him.
Yeah. Because we can like kind of close off the loop here and actually get into the feud.
Well, because then this match can happen at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, exactly. But now, how do we justify? Like, I don't know if we've done a better job, but we've done a more fun job.
Yeah.
But how do we justify the attack now that it was Joe behind it all along? What is the reason?
I mean, for real heel heat, he could just say that he should never have come back from being sick.
Oh, maybe.
It's like, I mean, like,
what a turn.
Well, okay. Did Joe have a match at that WrestleMania? Did Joe have a match at WrestleMania 35? Because that was, because that's Roman made his return and then he had his match against Drew at WrestleMania 35. I think he maybe did. It might have been, he was maybe in the U.S. title picture. Yes, Samoa Joe beat Rey Mysterio for the U.S. title. It was a 1 minute match. That was the one where he like cheated. And then like the week after or whatever, Ray got the title back from him.
Right.
So it could be a thing where it's like Joe justifies trying to take out Roman because Joe worked so hard to be able to get onto the WrestleMania card and get his chance to finally be on WrestleMania as a champion or whatever. And all Roman had to do was come back and immediately get onto WrestleMania.
That's
and
great.
so it's this kind of thing of like, I've worked for years and years and years to get where I want, and you just show up and you get what you want. You immediately. And so he just justifies like trying to put him on the shelf again so that Joe can get the opportunities instead of Roman.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Okay, so I think
and like, you know how Joe did when Joe was against AJ Styles during their kind of run of the WWE championship, and like his whole thing was like daddy's coming home, and he's like, you're gonna be back with your family, you're destroying your family, that sort of thing. Like Joe's really good at that sort of like kind of like psychotic manipulation sort of thing of like you scared your family once already with your health scares. Why are you trying to scare them again by coming back and putting yourself in danger wrestling against top guys again? Just go home and spend what could be your last couple of years with your family, and like that'll get them real heat. So
yeah, okay, I like that. So basically the events that lead up to this is like we get the comedy stuff with the Fashion Bureau of Investigation and Aiden English accusing people wildly because of what the info that Drew McIntyre gave them. But then Roman appears maybe let's give it like a week or two, because there's like a bunch of these random matches. He appears, he's back. He's like, I'm sick of playing games. I don't want to run around and try to figure out what happened. I just want answers. And then maybe Aiden English comes out and he's like, yes, we figured it out. We know who attacked you. We'll show you this. Let's take you back to the different scenes of the crimes, so he could like explain to Roman what happened. But in doing that, in English, maybe is like, this is where the shelf was pushed over onto you, and he goes to the car,
right,
and then in English just gets like blindsided by Joe, and then Joe starts like wailing on Roman Reigns, and you're like, oh no, this is it. It was Joe the entire time. Joe had manipulated Drew McIntyre to helping him. He's basically been trying to take Roman Reigns out so he can get more opportunity.
Yeah.
So that leads to maybe a confrontation the following week where Joe explains himself. He says all those things about like, yeah, all you had to do was come back to get a WrestleMania match. I've been working all year, my entire career, to have this shot at the spotlight, but you just had to get sick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's big time heel heat.
Come back. Everyone loves you again. Yeah. I think then what this can culminate into the final match, and it's perfect, is it culminates at Hell in a Cell. At that year's Hell in a Cell, there was only 2 Hell in a Cell matches. Okay. There was Seth Rollins versus The Fiend, and then there was Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks.
Right.
So you can have it set up to justify Hell in a Cell, which is always the problem with current day Hell in a Cell, is a lot of the justification doesn't make sense. But you can have it justified where, so Joe wanted to put Roman out.
Yes.
Roman then comes back after Joe spends a Raw getting the microphone, getting the camera or whatever, and getting to like, you know, like supervillain, explain his diabolical plan, you know. And then Roman the week after gets to come out and say, you want to put me on the shelf? Do the work. You want me, like, you want to end my career? Fine. I'll give you that chance. If you're man enough to get locked in a cell with me.
Yes.
And have us go man versus man in the most dangerous construction in WWE history. And you can, if you can finally prove yourself, put me away forever. But you got to know that I'm going to do whatever it takes to do the same to you.
That's perfect. That leads to Roman and Joe at Hell in a Cell. And we can also tie the Aiden English angle up in a nice little bow with Aiden English confronting Drew McIntyre, saying he gave him false information. And he wants to settle this at Hell in a Cell. It's obviously not a Hell in a Cell match, but it's just it's a match between Drew McIntyre and Detective Aiden English. And
Breezango gets it.
Federal Bureau, the Fashion Bureau of Investigation ringside with Aiden English.
Get involved, but Drew looks like a monster and then destroys them all.
I think Aiden English wins.
What?
Here's why. Because I think Drew McIntyre does destroy everybody, but with maybe some sort of detective cunningness or some sort of weird shenanigans, the Fashion Bureau helps Aiden English win the match. But it's
right.
like it's a screwy finish. But the entire match is pretty much just Drew's offense, like claymoring like Tyler Breeze and Breezango and Fandango, and just like absolutely like bodying Aiden English, like Future Shock DDTing him through the announcer's table. But then finally, some way, somehow, they managed to get Aiden English to win.
That's pretty impressive.
And that kind of wraps up like that, the detective angle.
Yeah.
We know who attacked Roman now.
And then you can have a really cool spot on the Raw after where it's Aiden English and Breezango, and they're like packing up all the files and they're like, case closed. And then they walk into the sunset.
Exactly. Yeah. That's perfect. But
obviously
now we have to get back into the Hell in the Cell with Roman and Joe.
I think obviously Roman wins.
Yeah.
Because it's setting him up It's funny because the reason why we have Roman current head of the table is because of COVID. You know, so, but we wouldn't have expected that because at that time they were really trying to set up Roman. They're you know, they were completely benefiting from the fact that everybody was now kind of starting to like Roman again, but that's because, you know, they were sympathetic towards him. And he wasn't like immediately in the title picture or anything like that. He was just doing what he could.
Yeah.
I think this is also around the time, or no, because it was at the beginning of 2020. So they did the Extreme Rules match where he teamed with The Undertaker, and that was kind of nicely wrapping up that story. And then once oh, Jesus Christ. At the beginning of 2020 was then that whole fucking storyline with him and Baron Corbin with the dog food.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that?
Yes.
Sadly.
Yes, that was so dumb.
Sadly remember that. So yeah, so like he wasn't doing like main event stuff. He was like just kind of there working, which was cool.
He was like building up again, sort of.
Yeah. So I think like you got to kind of benefit him and help get him closer to what eventually would be, you know, like I think it's a perfect setup for him getting into that angle of Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre and Undertaker at Extreme Rules. And it leaves Joe coming off like a big heel again, and hopefully putting him against, you know, like maybe Seth does win that Hell in a Cell match, but fairly. Or, you know, maybe then Joe goes up against Kofi Kingston. I think that actually did end up happening at some point, but like maybe then Joe goes up with Kofi Kingston and is a viable threat against him for the WWE Championship.
Yeah, maybe.
So,
and maybe because Drew is defeated at at Hell in a Cell, he's like a bit dejected, and that's when he partners with Shane McMahon, because Shane McMahon can take him to the places where he's meant to be going and not just be some lackey who gets beat by some jokers.
yeah.
Some doofuses at Hell in a Cell. So then they partner up, and that angle begins to soar. And Samoa Joe and Roman, yeah, big time.
Oh, it would be
big time match.
It'd be brutal.
Especially because Roman just came back. Like he would really have to like work, and he'd probably take some really brutal spots too.
Oh yeah. Well, you got like you'd definitely have spears through tables. You'd have Samoan slams, or Samoan drops through. Oh my God, why can't I remember that move? Samoan drop?
Yeah, the Samoan drop. Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
For some reason I blanked out on what the second word was. Maybe off of the apron onto a table that's on like the floor next to the cage or something like that. Just brutality, and like get Joe to look like a monster.
Yeah.
That's all we want. We want Joe to look like a crazy motherfucking badass.
I think he has like the coquina clutch on Roman, like pretty much to the point where Roman like is gonna like pass out, but then he like gets his hand on, or no, he can't. There's no rope breaks in Hell in a Cell, right?
Maybe like reaches and grabs like a weapon and like hits Joe with it or something to get out of it.
Yeah. Nice. That's great.
Yeah. Or Joe could have the coquina clutch, but like use like handcuffs or like a lead pipe or just something like to leverage it, and like it looks like he's like really choking the shit out of Roman and like doing something like that, and then Superman punch, spear, 1, 2, 3.
I think even a really cool spot would be like Roman wrapping his hands with like chains and Superman punching Samoa Joe, and then the 1, 2, and then he gets up because Samoa Joe's just like and then he hits him with the spear, and then
and Joe's bleeding, and and instead of like being dazed and like, oh, what, he like gets up and he's like like angry and like gonna do something, and then he just gets speared and taken out, and like so it doesn't look like Joe like just lost because he was overpowered. It's like he was like about to Hulk up and go crazy, and then Roman just had the upper hand.
Yeah,
So.
I like that.
Nice. I love it. That was great. Like
It's not really like Knives Out, but it was a detective angle and the character.
Hey,
energy.
It's a great rivalry between two people that we love, plus getting to have a fun angle for some people that weren't really utilized too much
At that point in time.
At that point, and it would be really funny to watch them do stuff. So there you go.
Yeah.
That's our reimagining of the Roman Reigns attack whodunit of 2019. I love it. So there you go. Let us know online how you would have booked the whodunit, who you think should have been the one behind Roman Reigns' attack at that time, and let us know. So now we get into the end of our podcast where we have our question of the week and our match recommendation. Our question this week, if you want to suggest your questions that we answer here on the podcast, you can always leave them either in the comments of the podcast on the video or audio versions on our social media, or you can go to our website, unknownerafilms.com/book events, and submit a question there. Our question this week, Anthony, there have been rumors that Matthew McConaughey, all right, himself, I don't know how to do that. The Wolf of Wall Street thing.
Yeah.
That he is friends with a lot of different wrestlers. He's friends with Drew McIntyre. That he is interested in getting into WWE for an angle for a storyline and wrestling. So our question this week is, what celebrity would you like to see wrestle? And I mean, over on AEW side, we got Shaq.
Maybe.
Supposedly finally showing up again. You know, we've had, there was almost going to be Mike Tyson, and then they pulled the cord on that, thankfully. Because him ripping off his shirt was not entertaining.
Very weird.
What celebrity would you want to see show up and be featured in a wrestling match?
I'm just trying to think of like who would be like a funny person to show up, but I also want it to be like kind of entertaining. I don't know, I guess Vin Diesel would be pretty good.
That would be great. That would be really, really, really good.
Yeah, I think Vin Diesel is the kind of person who would want to do that. I don't know what the exact angle would be that he would be injected in.
There's also the other week where it was the Legends Night, and Tori Wilson mentioned Cardi B, and then Cardi B was talking on Twitter how she used to watch wrestling, and
right,
and so she was kind of like wanting to show up. That would be interesting. I don't know how they would be able to like censor her, because she's very like,
they can't.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, how do you...
Cardi B is uncontrollable.
Yeah, it's like, how do you then make sure that someone like her sticks on script or storyline or anything like that? But it'd be interesting.
I think a fun way to like inject her probably into it would be like if Carmella had a segment, because like she shouted out Carmella in her tweet. Carmella was having some sort of segment where she was with Cardi B and they were like they're popping ballers or something, and Lacey Evans, who tried to inject herself and get herself over on Twitter with Cardi B, comes in and like attacks Carmella. And
what if
smacks Lacey Evans with a champagne bottle? Maybe.
What if because Lacey Evans then they're having back and forth on Twitter, even though I don't think Cardi B realizes that Lacey Evans was just working.
Yeah,
was just working her. But what if Cardi B comes in and like inserts herself in the Charlotte Lacey Evans storyline right now with Ric Flair and like comes in as Charlotte's backup. That'd be kind of
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I like that.
So let us know.
Briefly.
What are you looking up?
Oh, I'm just looking up a maybe a match recommendation.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, if what celebrity would you like to see be involved in wrestling? Please let us know online or in the comments of the podcast. And this week it is Anthony's match recommendation. So, Anthony, what match are you recommending everyone go watch or check out this week?
Well, because we did Samoa Joe, I was gonna try to find maybe a better match of Samoa Joe's to recommend. But actually, the one that I want to do because I saw it live is Samoa Joe versus Shinsuke Nakamura at the first NXT Takeover Toronto.
There you go.
Boom. I probably recommended matches from there already, but it doesn't matter.
Well, it's a totally different experience seeing it live. Like,
It was crazy. And everybody wanted Shinsuke to go over, and you'll find out what happens.
there you go. Also, that's like early days of like them coming in and like working a lot harder than they end up working on the main roster.
Right. Because, I mean, unfortunately, Joe's on the shelf, and he's on commentary now. And Shinsuke, maybe, he might win in the Royal Rumble.
Again?
Who knows? He's getting that push.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping, side thing, I was kind of really hoping that it would be Shinsuke versus Roman at Royal Rumble, but
Yeah. Well,
you
I
know,
guess
we'll see what
get
happens.
Adam Pearce.
Well, no,
Yay.
it's Kevin Owens.
Oh, it is Kevin Owens?
Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
Oh, wait, was that on? No, that was last week.
Was it?
Yeah, where they signed the contract, and then Pierce is like, haha, fooled you. I'm injured, so I can find a replacement. And then he gets Kevin Owens to be the replacement in the last man standing match at this year's Royal Rumble. Who's going to win? We don't know. Anyways, yes,
Roman,
go watch.
probably.
Go watch Shinsuke Nakamura versus Samoa Joe at NXT Takeover Toronto. And you can find those match recommendations. We tweet them out, and then we also feature them on our website. And you can watch all the other match recommendations that we suggest on our website as well. Thank you so much for listening and or watching the podcast this week. You can see everything that we do here at Unknown Era Films by following us online at UE_films. You can follow myself on the internet in various places at Barton_Minute, and you can follow Mr. Anthony Hall
At Hall and Jokes on Instagram and Twitter.
So thank you so much for watching or listening. Be safe out there. Go watch some wrestling, and we'll see you next time.